Hello, welcome to Vlogtober day 30. My name is Angela and all of the places you can find me online should be linked in the description box just below this video. How are you? I hope you are all well today. I am feeling much better. I still have a bit of a sniffly nose hanging around, but the razor blades in my throat seem to have gone. So that's always a good thing. I'm still dosing up on Lemsip. I'll continue to do so for the next day or two until I shift the last of these germs, I think. But thank you so much for your well wishes. They really did mean a lot to me. And yeah, I'm feeling much better, thank you. I've got a busy day in the shop today, so there probably won't be much time for filming today. I'm going to see if before I head out to work if I can film a segment on how I spin, but it's going to depend on the light cooperation and also how much time I have after I've sat and waffled with you for a little while. I have two groups in the shop today, and then this evening I'm hoping to go out for a coffee date to meet the lovely Miranda of By Miranda May Hand-Dyed Yarns. So I'm hoping to hop on the train to Cardiff. So perhaps I will be able to pop in some footage of Cardiff at night, which I'd hoped to do last week, and then we were rained off. So hopefully that will be coming up. But before I crack on and get on with my day, there's a couple of things I wanted to chat with you about. The first one was a question from Sal yesterday, who asked had I swatched yet with the speckle yarn and the orange merino, and the answer to that, Sal, is I haven't. The reason being, I do have some of this Kid Silk Haze in orange, but this is a discontinued colourway. This is kind of like a rusty sort of brick kind of colour. I've only got 2 balls of this left, well, 2 and I think a half. Newt attacked one of these the other week, which won't be quite enough meterage for the Love Note sweater. And the new orange that Rowan have in the line is much brighter, so that swatching will have to wait for a couple of weeks until I do my next order from Rowan, which is a shame because I'm super excited to swatch for that, even though I won't be casting on yet. I'm just really intrigued as to how that's going to come out and whether I like it or not. The other thing that I'm going to do this morning is wind up some yarn for a new test knit that I've signed up for. I'm really excited about this, but also I probably shouldn't have done it. You know me, I've got lots of projects on the go, and I'm really motivated at the moment to try and get through as many of these projects as I can. But then I saw this jumper and it's just so beautiful, and I couldn't resist. So at the Knit Tea retreat a couple of weekends ago, I had the great pleasure of meeting Sylvia. You'll find Sylvia over on Instagram as With Cherries on Top too, and you might already know her because she took the Instagram world by storm a little while ago with her amazing intarsia work. She was wearing her beautiful intarsia sort of coat at Vogue Knitting Live, I think it was, a few months ago, and yeah, the internet went crazy for it, and rightly so. It's a gorgeous piece. And I saw the other day that Sylvia was looking for test knitters for her first self-published pattern. It's a beautiful sweater with a double moss stitch on top and then a little bit of cabling at the bottom. And she put out a call for test knitters. I was like, right, I haven't got time, don't sign up. And then I think it was the next day she popped up a call for test knitters in the larger sizes. And again, if you have been following along on Instagram the last few months, you know that there has been a call for lots of inclusivity in our community over on Instagram, and rightly so. And one of the issues that's been raised is size inclusivity, that a lot of the most popular patterns on Ravelry and in magazines don't go up to larger sizes, and Sylvia still had slots for test knitters in the larger sizes. And so I couldn't resist, because you know we're all clamouring for this stuff, and so some of us fat chicks need to step up and do some of the work. So I am test knitting Sylvia's beautiful sweater. I've got this gorgeous yarn from Rowan. It's Rowan Moordale. Let me see if I can get the label. No, there we go. Rowan Moordale, which is a blend of wool and alpaca. It's a British wool. Let me try and get the composition. 70% wool, 30% alpaca, in this lovely sort of brick red, rusty orange kind of colour. And so I said to Sylvia, could I test knit in this yarn? She gave me the thumbs up, so I'm going for it. It does mean that in a couple of weeks when the test knit starts, I should be gung-ho and trying to get as much of that done as possible. We've got a fairly long deadline. I think the deadline's somewhere in mid January, so it's 2 months to knit a double knit sweater. So it should be possible, at least possible, to get somewhere close. But it could mean that for a change, my knitting becomes somewhat monogamous. Can't even say that word. Must be the Lemsip. Over the next couple of months. So I'm hoping to intersperse that with a few of my other projects, because you know me, I find it quite boring if I'm just working on one thing. As beautiful as the sweater is, I will need to work on some other things, but my main priority will be this sweater. So I'm going to wind this up this morning so I can swatch. So yeah, I think that's all the news for the day, and we shall get on and do some things. So I'm hoping to show you the basics of how I spin today. This is something that was asked of me quite a few weeks ago now, and I just hadn't got round to finding the time to do that for you. So hopefully before I have to head out the door today, I can squeeze in a quick segment to show you that. I just want to preface this by saying I am pretty much self-taught. I had one lesson from a local lady who showed me the basics of how to get going, and then the rest of it has been trial and error on my part. So if you are looking for a tutorial from some sort of spinning guru, this is not that. I'm hoping to put the camera between myself and my hands, so you will hopefully see everything that I'm seeing, so from my perspective, but we'll see how that works out. So I'm just going to flip you around and show you the equipment that I'm going to be using today. So I have a really basic drop spindle, which is a top whirl spindle, which means that the hook and the sort of weight is at the top of the shaft of the spindle. And this is a spindle from Hilltop Cloud. This was the first spindle I ever purchased. If you've followed me for a while, you know I've got several, but this is just a really basic workhorse spindle. It spins beautifully, and I often reach for this one if it's free, because I know that for most fibres it just copes really well. I also have here a beautiful rolag. So this is some fibre that's just been prepped in a particular way. You'll see braids and bats and all sorts. You can do these techniques with all of these, but I do like a rolag because it keeps the fibre pretty self-contained, and I think when you're starting out in spinning, it's a good way to fibre manage, because you haven't got sort of bits falling out, flopping out, flying out everywhere. So I do like a good rolag, and this particular rolag was made for me by my lovely friend Jeanette. Hi Jeanette, you might have seen me spin up some of these rolags a little while ago, and she very kindly made up some more and sent them to me because she's amazing. So I've popped you facing the blank wall, so hopefully there won't be any distractions in the background and you can see what I'm doing. This is a little bit awkward for me because I'm sitting on the other side of my tripod and camera, so hopefully I won't knock anything, but there might be a few cuts and the angle might change slightly. That's just me fouling up the recording process. So I've got my spindle, and I usually spin straight from this, but you'll see a lot of people put a leader on their spindle, and I think that's quite useful for your first few times of spinning. So I'm just going to show you how to do that. So I've basically cut a piece of scrap cotton here, and I'm going to tie a knot in the end of it so that I've got a loop. Okay, so it doesn't have to be fancy. I'm just putting a good old standard slip knot in there. Now I'm going to bring my spindle into the equation, and I'm going to wrap my knotted end around the spindle. I'm going to open up the loop that I've created with that yarn, and I'm going to bring one end through so that I've got a nice knot and my spindle can hang from that. And then all I need to do to start spinning is wrap this up so it catches around the hook, and then I can start spinning. I can start twisting and spinning, and as you can see, that's actually putting some spin into this cotton yarn already. So, I've left myself quite a long leader there, and I don't really need that much length, so I'm just going to start twisting the spindle round and wrapping the leader onto the shaft of the spindle slightly, and that's really what we're going to be doing once we've spun up our fibre. I'm going to just hook that round the top. You might want to do that a couple of times just while you're getting used to it to catch that in, and as you can see, that's hanging nicely off the spindle, ready to spin. Of course, the next step is to bring some fibre into the equation. So all I'm going to do is tease a little bit of fibre out of the end of this rolag. Just want to be tugging on it gently so that the fibres spread out but they don't break, and that's a thing that will come with practice. Sometimes you'll tug too hard and the fibres will come apart. I'll do a little demo just like that, but no harm, no foul. You'll get used to the amount that you can pull on your fibre, and it will entirely depend on what fibre you're spinning as to how far and how much pressure you can put on the fibre before it breaks. But now I've got my sort of little bit of an end here. All I'm going to do is pop that through the centre of my loop that I've created with that leader. So hopefully you saw that. Sorry, it's a bit awkward me looking at what I'm doing through the camera and showing you. So apologies if this is a bit of a rubbish demo. So now I've got my spindle, my leader, and my fibre is looped around the leader, and I can start to spin. What we want to do is just put our hands on the shaft of the spindle and give it a whirl. You can go clockwise or anti-clockwise, so you can flick it round that way or flick it round this way. Whatever feels comfortable for you is absolutely fine, as long as you make sure that you're flicking consistently in the same direction. If you flick one way and then the other way, you're going to unspin, de-twist the fibre that you're creating. So just make sure you're consistent. There are fancy terms for the different ways in which you spin. There's Z twist and S twist, but you don't need to worry about that right now. You just need to get spinning. I'm going to give this a little flick. I'm going to go clockwise, and then I'm going to let the twist start travelling up my leader and into the fibre. But I'm going to keep a good pinch on my fibre at some point, so that we don't lock twist into the fibre higher up in the rolag than we want to go. So here we go. Just going to give a little flick, and then I'm letting the spin travel up. You can probably see the twist hopefully going into the fibre. I'm going to over twist this just so you see. So hopefully you saw that, and I can now wind this on if I want to. Wind it onto my bobbin. Okay. When you are first starting out in spindling, the park and draft method is a really good one to employ. So I will need to switch you round, and I don't think I'm going to be able to show you that from my angle, but I think it's a useful technique to learn when you're starting out. So you're facing me now, probably not the most flattering angle for you to see me out, but hey, we're all friends here. So I've got my piece of fibre that I've twisted. I'm going to show you the park and draft technique. So I'm just going to wind that on so we're up to the point that we've spun to. So, okay, so I've just resting my spindle between my legs at the moment. I'm pinching my fibre where I've allowed the twist to go up to. I'm not moving this hand because I don't want twist to go up into the rolag before I'm ready for it to. I'm just going to swap my hands over a little bit, tease out the rolag so I've got a little bit more of a finer sort of piece of fibre to come. Swap my hands back so I'm pinching now, and I'm going to give my spindle a good twist. Again, I'm twisting clockwise. I'm going to let it spin a few times, and then I'm going to catch it and I'm going to park it between my legs. And then moving down, I'm going to quickly switch my fingers and I'm going to tease out some fibre, and then I'm going to let go with this hand and the twist travels up to the point where I've pinched. So you can hopefully see that fibre is nicely twisted now. And if I want to at this point, I can roll a bit up onto my spindle and then catch around the hook again, or I could keep going. As long as you are keeping your pinch here, so your twist is not travelling up too far up the fibre, then we're good to go. So we're going to give it another twist. I'm going to catch it, park it between my legs, and then I'm going to tease out a little bit extra of this rolag, let go with this hand, and that twist travels up into the fibre. I'll see if I can zoom in when I do my editing onto this bit so you can see the twist going up. So we'll do that a couple more times. So I am giving it a twirl clockwise, catching it when I'm ready, parking it between my legs, drafting out some of the fibre, and then letting go with this hand and allowing the twist to travel up into my fibre. And that's the basics of spinning. So I'm showing you this now from a slightly different angle. I'm sat side on to the camera, but I thought it might be helpful to get a few different angles if you're wanting to try this out yourself. So I'm sat in my chair, I've got my spindle, I've got my fibre. I'm going to twist my spindle again in the clockwise direction. I'm going to catch it, grasp it between my knees, and then I'm going to tease out a little bit of fibre. Doesn't really matter how much. You could go thin, thick, whatever. Your consistency will come if you've not tried it before. And then I'm going to let go with this hand and let the twist travel up into the fibre. I probably didn't have quite enough twist in that one. So spin it again, catch it, tease out some fibre, and then let the pinch travel up. I'll wind that on a bit. Sorry, I appreciate that the angles here aren't amazing, so I do apologise, but this is the best I can do for the time being with the light that I have as well. So twist, catch, secure, pull out your rolag, let the spin travel into the fibre. Here is the beginnings of the fibre that we've just been spinning, and yeah, I think we're doing a pretty good job, don't you? Hopefully I will be able to cobble together some footage so that you kind of get the gist. It was a bit more awkward than I anticipated trying to film angles, particularly in the grotty grey light that we have today. Of course, I'm a bit more of an experienced spinner now, so I do a few things differently than what I showed you. So I'm just going to break off what we've done so far, and I'm going to show you that I usually don't bother starting my spinning with a leader. So I'm just going to wind that on, and I'm going to flip the camera around and show you a slightly different technique to start. Spindle, I've got my fibre, and all I do to start these days is just basically shove my hook. I sort of fold the fibre a little bit and catch my hook into the fibre like so, and then I'm going to tease it out a little bit so I don't have too much of a sort of bulky bit to start. And then, as you can see, my spindle is quite happily hanging from that piece of sort of doubled over fibre, and I can start twisting and spinning from there. It does take a little bit of extra faff at the beginning, because when I'm ready to wind my fibre on, obviously I don't have that leader that's already round the shaft of the spindle, so I have to unhook my spindle and try and keep the twist in it, and then wrap around my spindle and take it up to the top. Hopefully that makes sense. I'll spin a little bit and show you. Okay, so obviously you're facing me now, so a slightly different angle, but I can't reach around the camera and do this with the setup I've got at the moment. So I'm just hooking my fibre on to my spindle. Going to spin away for a little bit just to set that twist in, so that the spindle's nice and locked in there. I'm giving it a good tug and it's not going anywhere. I can spin my first length of yarn, and then I just need to unhook that. I don't worry about this first bit because there's usually a little bit of wastage, and then I'm just going to hold with my thumb. I'm going to hold that on and just wrap that round a couple of times to secure it in, and then that comes up to my hook and I'm ready to go. The other thing you might have noticed that I don't do anymore is the park and draft. I am relatively confident enough now that I can keep spinning without needing to stop. And that's, again, something that you might want to try straight away, or something that comes with practice. So I basically just spin, draft, and let the spindle start dropping down until the twist stops. Spin it again and just draft down with my hands. Let the spin twist up into the fibre, and then wind on when I'm ready. So hopefully that's the basics covered. I'll try and edit this together. If you need more clarity and more explanation, then perhaps I'll try and put in another bit of footage of me just spinning away without sort of chatting and awkwardly trying to figure out camera angles. But yeah, we'll see what we've got.